would use all the special effects and the technical breakthroughs that you could see in 2001: Space Odyssey.
Ron Howard is known globally as one of Hollywood's most composed gentlemen, a man who has never been embroiled in a loud scandal throughout his 7-decade career. Behind that gentle smile and the golden glow of Academy Awards, few realize he once lived in fear and isolation right on the film set as a young child. Truths were hidden behind the white picket fences of the fictional town of Mayberry, where resentment sprouted from the smallest things. These psychological ghosts did not remain in the past. They stretched into modern film projects where he was betrayed by those he once trusted. The town of Mayberry in The Andy Griffith Show is a symbol of peace and the standard family values of 1960s America. For young Ronnie Howard, who played Opie Taylor starting at age 6, memories here were not entirely rose-colored by nostalgia. Behind the white fences and the warm lights of Desilu Studios lay a cold reality created by Frances Bavière, who played the kindly Aunt Bee. The contrast between an America's aunt on screen and a harsh woman in real life created a heavy psychological burden on young Ronnie for 8 long years. Frances Bavière was a New York stage actress with exceptionally strict professional standards and an isolated mindset. She did not view her child co-stars as subjects to be coddled. She saw them as colleagues who had to execute every frame with precision. According to records from the newspaper Classic Country Music, Bavière's constant tensions sometimes caused the atmosphere on set to freeze. Director Howard Morris, who helmed many episodes, described working with Bavière as walking on a landmine. A simple request to shift positions slightly for a camera angle could trigger a fierce reaction, creating silent but toxic confrontations. For Ron Howard, the greatest fear was not learning lines, but the unprovoked coldness from Bavière. While Andy Griffith and Don Knotts always created a warm connection, Bavière erected an invisible wall. Ron later opened up in interviews about this raw truth. "She was never really warm to me. She maintained a huge distance and sometimes made me feel like I wasn't welcome at all." This estrangement made every shared scene between Opie and Aunt Bee a test of endurance and professional acting for a child who was not even 10 years old. The symbolic peak of this endurance was the classic 1961 episode involving jars of pickles. In the script, Opie had to eat a large amount of pickles handmade by Aunt Bee, a dish described as terrible in the show, but one that Ron Howard also personally loathed in real life. He had to perform dozens of takes, forcing himself to swallow slices of pickles while facing Bavière's cold gaze and demands for perfection. Remembering that haunting experience behind the lens, Howard described it as pure torture of both taste and emotion, as he was forced to smile while his body wanted to revolt. Bavière's rigidity did not stop at work. It bled into the personal lives of her colleagues. Andy Griffith once attempted to visit her home in North Carolina, hoping to mend their relationship with the surprise visit. Her excessive protection of privacy turned this effort into an internal PR disaster. She flatly rejected the goodwill, leading Griffith to lament that the rift between them was a wound that could never be fully healed while the show was on the air. Aunt Bee's coldness was Ron Howard's first and most expensive lesson regarding the falsity of Hollywood's aura. Where a smile can be bought with silent suffering, it became the motivation for him to seek a more peaceful harbor in his private life, where he met the only woman who helped him balance his childhood traumas. Those first stirrings of love beside an old car were the beginning of a healing journey, stretching from simple dates to a marriage that challenged all the harsh rules of the entertainment industry. The rejected proposal. In 1970, while still a promising teenager in California, Ron Howard met Cheryl Alley at John Burroughs High School. Their first date took place in a mint green Volkswagen Beetle, a simple icon of the 70s. Howard took Cheryl to the movies and then for pizza, a beginning that bore none of the luxury typically associated with Hollywood stars. He admitted that from that very moment he knew Cheryl was the only one for him, stating in an interview with People magazine, "I'm really lucky that I met her so early. There was never anyone else." The path to their marriage faced strong resistance from Cheryl. Even though Howard had identified his future early on, he had to propose 3 times before receiving her consent. Cheryl Alley, a woman of independent thought and determination, flatly refused the first 2 times because she wanted to prioritize her education and self-identity. She did not want her life to be merely a shadow of a famous actor. Their daughter, actress Bryce Dallas Howard, later revealed about her mother, "My mom is a force of nature. She needed to shape her own future before tying it to my dad's life." Howard's persistence and Cheryl's pragmatism created a solid foundation, helping them maintain a connection throughout Howard's transition from child actor to director. On June 7, 1975, their wedding was held in Burbank, California, attended by family and close colleagues from the set of Happy Days. Notably, the guest list included the late actor Tom Bosley, who played Howard's father in the series. At the time of their marriage, Howard was just beginning his journey with sitcoms, but he found in Cheryl an irreplaceable spiritual anchor. To celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary in 2025, instead of hosting grand parties at famous venues, Howard chose to share a simple photo of the two on a beach at sunset. In his reflections on a half-century together, he likened his marriage to a journey on a river, where the boat of love sometimes glides through still waters, but at other times must face treacherous rapids. The secret behind this stability, according to Howard, lies in communication and the ability to adapt together. He emphasized that allowing the partner to grow and evolve freely is the key to maintaining a bond. You have to grow together, allow the other person to change, and always find a way back to the middle ground. In 2023, Howard even surprised his wife by driving the same old Volkswagen Beetle from years ago, the car from their first date, which he had perfectly restored, to take her for a ride. The image of the two sitting in the old car, letting the wind blow through their hair and reminiscing about memories from when they were 16, became a testament to a love that needs no champagne or red carpets. Family happiness was the firmest support for Ron Howard to embark on greater challenges behind the camera, where he began to touch upon gritty real-life stories. The effort to poeticize these harsh truths led to a wave of fierce criticism from academia and international media. Omitting sensitive details to create a perfect icon on screen inadvertently turned Howard into the center of allegations regarding professional dishonesty. The betrayal of truth. When A Beautiful Mind swept the major awards at the 2002 Oscars, Ron Howard officially entered the ranks of Hollywood's most powerful directors. Behind the resounding victory with trophies for Best Director and Best Picture, the film became the focal point of a heated debate over professional ethics and the integrity of the biographical genre. To mold an inspiring image of John Nash, Howard was accused of performing a ruthless cleansing of the mathematician's personal history. Dark and complex details of Nash's real life were completely erased from the script to create a smooth plot, easily digestible for the general audience and the Academy. The first betrayal of truth lay in Howard's complete omission of John Nash's relationship with a woman named Eleanor Steyer, who bore him an illegitimate son in 1953. In real life, Nash not only refused financial support but abandoned the child in poverty, a truth in total opposition to the image of the devoted, faithful husband played by Russell Crowe. Additionally, historical documents and biographers pointed to questions regarding Nash's same-sex attraction and legal troubles involving inappropriate conduct in public places during the 1950s. According to records in the New York Times, Howard's decision to ignore these aspects turned a flawed and mistaken man into a pure icon, leading critics to view it as a deliberate act of whitewashing a biography. Facing the wave of criticism, Ron Howard had to speak out to defend his artistic perspective, though his explanation did not satisfy those who respect historical truth. He declared, "I'm not making a documentary, I'm telling a story about the nature of genius and love." We chose to focus on the parts that help the audience understand Nash's psychological battle. Howard argued that if too many sensitive details were included, the audience's empathy for the protagonist would be scattered, and the message of perseverance over illness would be diminished. This trade-off caused the film to be labeled a product of the Oscar formula, where rough edges are sanded down to create a moving but dishonest cinematic work. The scandal did not stop with critics. It directly affected John Nash's real-life family. Having these secrets exposed at the very peak of the film's glory caused psychological trauma to those involved, as they saw their lives upended and filtered by the hands of filmmakers. The compromise with historical facts in A Beautiful Mind could be seen as a commercial and artistic professional calculation. The betrayal Ron Howard faced in a later project, however, carried a much more painful and direct personal tone. This happened when he placed his full trust in a young man, building a story of hope with him, only to receive bitter disappointment when that person stepped onto the path of power. The relationship between the director and the protagonist in this project shifted from deep understanding to an irreparable rift on the national political stage. The rift from Hillbilly Elegy. In 2020, Ron Howard decided to adapt J.D. Vance's best-selling memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, into a major streaming film project. As a filmmaker always drawn to stories of individual effort, Howard approached the project with absolute respect for Vance's journey of overcoming hardship from a poor rural town in America's Rust Belt. Throughout the production phase, Howard and Vance cultivated a professional relationship built on mutual proximity and apparent shared purpose. The director placed his absolute faith in the core human values and the inspiring message of perseverance that Vance had penned in his autobiography. Howard genuinely believed he was utilizing his platform to amplify a truthful story of hope, one that illustrated an individual's power to reclaim their own destiny despite overwhelming social adversity. To the veteran director, Vance represented the kind of underdog hero he had spent his entire career celebrating on the silver screen. The radical pivot in J.D. Vance's ideological stance and public political persona shortly after the film's release left Ron Howard in a state of genuine shock. The author, who once offered a nuanced and empathetic perspective on the struggles of the working class, rapidly transformed into a political figure defined by inflammatory rhetoric. This new version of Vance utilized a combative communication style that was fundamentally unrecognizable to the man Howard had collaborated with on set. The quiet intellectual he had once directed seemed to have vanished, replaced by a persona that stood in direct opposition to the themes of the very movie they had created together. In a candid interview with Variety, Howard expressed his confusion at this transformation. "I was very surprised and disappointed by what he's been saying lately. That's not the person I spent a lot of time discussing his life story with." Howard felt betrayed by the very character he had strived to protect and honor on screen. Howard's disappointment did not stop at political differences. It lay in the feeling of being deceived about the man's core nature. He realized he had inadvertently become a media tool, helping to build a sympathetic image of J.D. Vance, only for that image to later be used for a political goal he did not support at all. Howard admitted that misjudging Vance's sincerity was one of the most bitter lessons of his storytelling career. This incident caused a deep rift in Howard's reputation. As the public began to question his judgment of character and the responsibility of a director when promoting individuals capable of dividing society, the betrayal from J.D. Vance was a grim reminder for Ron Howard of the thin line between reality and what people perform for the outside world. It forced him to look back at his entire filmmaking philosophy, where he always tried to find warm rays of light in every character, only to suddenly realize that darkness sometimes hides too well behind perfect masks. The repetition of these disappointments and trust drove Howard to seek a final liberation, a true ending to the psychological ghost that had haunted him from childhood to the glory of his old age. An unexpected phone call from the past, coming from the place where all his fears began, opened the door to a reconciliation Howard never dared to dream of. A late ending in Siler City. In 1989, in the town of Siler City, North Carolina, Frances Bavier entered the final days of her life in solitude and illness. After leaving the Hollywood spotlight in 1972, she chose a reclusive life, away from media scrutiny and the noise of the past. Faced with the finitude of life due to cardiovascular complications, the woman famous for her rigidity and coldness performed an act that shocked the entire cast of The Andy Griffith Show. She picked up the phone, to make a long-distance call to Andy Griffith, the man with whom she had maintained a tense and conflicted relationship for decades. In that final conversation, Bavier completely shed the haughty shell of a stage actress to offer the most sincere apology. She admitted that her difficulty, her overbearing nature, and her distance on the set years ago were a great mistake. "I'm sorry we didn't get along better. It was entirely my fault," she confessed in belated remorse. She did not forget to send an indirect apology to other colleagues, including Little Ronnie, whom she had once treated coldly. This confession was not only a liberation for Bavier's soul before closing her eyes, but also a necessary soothing for the emotional wounds Ron Howard had carried since childhood. For Ron Howard, Frances Bavier's proactive admission of her mistakes was a turning point, helping him view all the obsessions at Mayberry through a more forgiving lens. He realized her coldness years ago might have stemmed from personal pressures or the displacement of a stage artist trying to adapt to the environment of mass television. The fact that she chose to apologize at the last minute proved that humans always have the capacity to change and make amends, however late. Howard chose to forgive completely, not to please the public, but to truly close a dark chapter that had shaped his career. The passing of Frances Bavier at the age of 86 in December 1989 marked the end of an era, but it also opened a new beginning for Ron Howard's soul. Overcoming the resentment for Aunt Bee gave him added resilience to face later disappointments in his career, from criticisms regarding the honesty of his films to the betrayal of people like J.D. Vance. He understood that kindness and altruism are the most enduring values, helping an artist maintain their identity in a Hollywood full of masks and falsehoods. The valuable lessons from the past helped Howard become a director who not only knows how to tell moving stories, but also knows how to master his own life with a calm and humane mindset. The forgiveness granted to Frances Bavier was the final piece completing the character of a true Hollywood gentleman, one who has passed through every level of fame and pain. Ron Howard's life is not just brilliant footage, it is a restless journey between truth and fiction, between faith and betrayal. From the coldness of Frances Bavier to the transformation of J.D. Vance, he learned that humans are the most complex entities that no script can fully describe. Ultimately, what keeps him standing is not the Oscars, but the clarity to see through the masks and the courage to always choose kindness. If you found the story of Ron Howard's hidden corners and the town of Mayberry interesting, don't forget to like and share this video to support us. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any journeys discovering the never-before-revealed secrets of legendary stars. Thank you for watching, goodbye, and see you in the next videos.